Welcome back, everybody. I have the distinct pleasure of speaking with very, very interesting human being and an actor and a musician and a producer, and he's done pretty much everything within the kind of the acting sphere, which we'll talk about. But a recent movie that he's been a part of, that he's called kind of the heart of the film. I have not seen it. I've seen bits and pieces of it, and I look forward to actually watching the full thing. It's called 24th. It's about the Houston Riots of 1917, and he plays a pivotal part there. And there are a lot of acting things that I want to talk about that deal with that movie. So please welcome to the program Lorenzo Yearby.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure, Lorenzo. I watched an interview that you did with Jim Alexander on Real Talker, so we're going to link that right below. Please follow him. He's a friend of the show, and take a look at the interview there. It deals a lot with the 24th. I'm going to go a little wider, but I definitely want to touch upon the 24th. It's talking about the events that have been more than 100 years ago. And unfortunately, the events of what happened in the Houston riots are unfortunately appropriate to what's happening right now in our society. And what, from an acting perspective and from being a African American man, what was that like of being a part of doing a historical piece, but that has so much significance to what's happening right now?
Well, I would say, I mean, it was definitely huge. It's an opportunity I thought I wouldn't have for quite some time. For it being my first film was really special. And like you said, it's kind of crazy because this happened 100 years ago, and it's a true story. And it's like we're reliving it right now. It's like still going on 100 years later, and you would have hoped that would have learned from our past, but unfortunately, we're still here. And I don't know. It's real surreal. It's really crazy. But it was a pleasure being able to tell the story of what these men went through, and just like I always talk about the courage they had. A lot of times we say what we would do right now if we were in that situation, but even on set, being an actor and being someone who's a really even mix of Meisner and method, it's
Yeah.
like you really putting yourself there, and it's you kind of feel that fear, you feel that just nastiness of the environment, for lack of better words. But it's really crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine to a point. It's and my point of reference is being a Jewish man. Yeah, one of the things that you touched upon in that interview is that one of your early jobs is you were a Manny, and
Yeah.
Manny, and then you were exposed to to working with kids who were discriminated against because they're Jewish, and that to you was interesting and different, not something that you would expect because you're white, right? Well, what's the thing? And that's kind of how I grew up. I grew up in Ukraine, where being a Jew is something that was pretty much openly discriminated against.
Mhm.
My brother couldn't get into college because he was a Jew. My parents, my mom couldn't have the profession that she wanted. Same thing with my brother. When I was a kid, I was there until I was 14 before I left. When I was a kid, the my first experience was that, and we weren't religious, so kind of being Jewish is something that I wasn't really even aware of. And then kids called me, Jew and dirty Jew. And I remember, I was like 7 or 8 years old. I ran from school and ran up to my parents' house and said, "They're calling me this thing. What does it mean? And why are they doing it?" And my parents explained, and I said, "I don't want to be it. I don't want to be, teased for something." And they're like, "Well, do you love your grandfather?" "Yes." "Do you love your parents?" "Yes." "Well, that's a part of our heritage." But it's that thing of like not understanding of, we're all the same. We're all kids. What's the big deal? And then being singled out for something that A, you have no control over, B, you don't even know what it means. So for somebody who is a different color and being singled out for that, to me was always idiotic.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's a part of our country's history, because I've been here since 1989. So technically, I've been here 3 times longer than I've been there,
Mhm.
and it's my country. So watching this still happening out in the world is very odd to me. I can't imagine what it's like, being an African American and seeing and having these experiences, and now having to go back into history and saying, this has been going on for 200 years. Seriously, come on.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the thing that I've gathered, I try to be, sounds weird even saying it, understanding of other people and trying to figure out where they're coming from. And maybe I'm late to the party, but I've just, started kind of realizing the last 2 or 3 years. And I tell my friends, a lot of these people, it blows their mind, but a lot of people in America, especially in middle of America, have never even met a Black person. I've talked about this in an interview I just did, that we had a event, not a meeting, but we had an event here in Atlanta last year and the year before that. I think they started it 2 years ago. It is called just simply Meet a Black Person. And here I am in Metro Atlanta, and you think at least maybe the other parts of Georgia, but even in Metro Atlanta, there's a lot of people who they don't have real experiences with Black people. And so their perspective of Black people or Jews is what they see on TV, what they've heard from their grandparents or whatever. And sometimes they don't even realize, and it's hard for them to realize. I had this conversation with some of my white friends that they realize, like, oh my gosh, like my grandparents are racist. I've never known that. Like some of them are just finding out this year or last year. And they said they've never known that, but these types of these images of Black people are passed down because they see us on TV, and the news is always saying, "Oh, we're thugs, or we're robbing banks, or we're killers, or whatever." I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but the majority of us, is like we don't do that. Another thing I see on some message boards when I'm, just looking through stuff, I see this a lot. It's like maybe a white person that's trying to defend Black people, and then there'll be another person that'll say, "Well, if you go into their neighborhoods, they're not gonna show the same kindness towards you. I bet they're gonna, pretty much beat you up or kill you." And I'm like, you've never been to a Black neighborhood. Like, that's not how we act, But it's this image that's been going since the 20s, since television began, that Black people are these savages and like we're animals. And for people who have never had a real relationship with Black people, they're gonna believe it. They can only go off hearsay, and the fear mongering that's given to them.
It's extremely unfortunate. And by the way, as far as Georgia, surprises the heck out of me because I've been to Atlanta, and there's a very large Black population in Atlanta. So for them not to have any experience with a person of color is very, very weird to me. But again, like, going back to my experiences as a kid, and then as an adult trying to analyze, you grow up with the same kids. You're growing up, you're going to the same schools, same kindergarten, same daycare. You were the same, kids, you have the same societal upbringing. So the only difference and the only reason why some of them become racist is because of their parents. It's because that's what they hear at home. And because they're small children, because they're idolizing their parents at that age, because they believe everything that they hear. When you hear the Jews are bad, you're going to say Jews are bad. You don't have enough of, mental capacity to question it. So that's where it was stemming from. And that just, takes education, and that takes, unfortunately, generations, and that takes a lot of challenging the status quo. But people are people. I mean, seriously, what is the big deal? Everybody's different, but everybody's really the same. So they're either nice people or they're asshats. And it doesn't matter,
The color of skin doesn't affect,
Right. What's the difference? And I'm in Chicago, so, I have lots of friends who are, different races and different sexual persuasions. So for me, it's all natural, but that part was kind of natural for me when I was, back in Ukraine, and there weren't any Black people there. We saw a few tourists and students from Ethiopia, and I came up and I tried to speak English because I knew a few words there. But people are people. I still don't like. It's a human perspective thing. I don't get it.
You sound just like me.
Yeah. And
people are people is like that simple, but somehow we've overcomplicated it. But divide and conquer. I mean, that's where it comes from. Yeah.
It's fear, right? If it's trying to put yourself, with the people who are like yourself, which I think is also very ignorant, but trying to protect yourself and trying to look at everybody else through that lens of they're different. That's why I don't want to be around them. if they're different, I want to be around them. I want to learn. I want to.
Right.
How do you grow as a person if you isolate yourself from everybody else?
But I mean, it goes back to not to be repetitive, but
Yeah.
one thing I always think about it, like I said, it comes back to fear. And when I really grasp this concept, saying I feel like I was maybe asleep my whole life, but about 2 years ago, the same time length, I was on one of my mentees' porch that I teach music to,
Mm.
and so there was this big yellow and black spider on the porch, and so I, just like anybody else, what do? We go to swat it
Yeah.
because we fear what we don't know. And then after you research the spider, as you were saying, after you educate your children, I was like, wow, this spider is a lot of help. It needs to be around here. It helps. It was a gardening spider. I can't remember the scientific name for it. And I started researching even more. And then went to granddaddy longlegs. A lot of times when we see a granddaddy longleg, which is
Yeah.
not even a spider, we usually try to kill it, but they can't even hurt us. They do
Yeah.
more. They help us more than anything else. They
Mm.
get the roaches because the way their body is built. But until you learn about something to educate yourself on it, you'll continue to fear it for
Yeah.
no reason when it's actually there to help you. And that's crazy how we were just killing these spiders, and their only purpose was to help humans. But we feared them because we didn't know enough about them.
Yeah, and the reason why we fear them is because we've watched arachnophobia and we've watched all these films that freak the hell out of us. And
Exactly.
that's why, yeah, I fall victim to the same thing. If I read something about snakes helping us, I'm still not sure I want to be around them.
Right, right. And see, is that those basic primal tactics that they like I said, that they use to divide us up, and it doesn't work for any of our goods, because like I said, people are people. We're all mainly the ones that fighting each other are on the same level. We're on the same economic level. We're on the
Yeah.
same, like, everything, and But that's how, for lack of better words, the powers that be and those that want to control us and that actually make the real money. That's what they want us to do, fight each other.
It's unfortunate. All right, so kind of moving off of that, because I know that you and I can talk about that for a while, but um, we're positive people, and again, hearing you talk and knowing how you are an empath, which I am as well. We don't want to swim in negativity. We want to swim in the love of the people, love of the art, love of the it's the proper energy makeup, and again, music for you.
Right.
It's a different vibrational sensitivity. So as an empath, when you were talking about again in Jim's interview, when you were talking about kind of being able to imagine yourself being somebody else because you're an empath, I found that very interesting.
Mm.
And I found that's where my fear kicks in, because being an empath, the first way that I realized that I was an empath is how I'm able to absorb the energy of others.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've had the same experience, but
No, yes, it can be very aggravating even trying to explain it to people. So
yeah,
this is a good conversation. Yeah.
yeah. Like I realized, I would walk into a Walmart, and I'm me. I feel totally fine. I feel good. I'm happy. This is my normal, default state. And then I walk through Walmart, and it's not about Walmart. It's any large gathering of people in a confined space. I walk through Walmart. Within a half an hour, I come out. I'm agitated. I'm aggravated. I'm pissed off. I'm aggressive. And it took me a little while to realize, why is that, right? I walk in one person, I walk out another person. Why is that? It's because I am open and I'm picking up and I'm kind of sponging now all of the energy from all of these people around me. I need to get rid of that stuff. So there is a protective mechanism that started to develop itself, which when applied to acting, I started being fearful of really kind of taking on, and you're going into the method aspect of really taking on somebody else, because I don't know if I want all of that energy because I take it so cleanly.
Right. No, I know exactly what you mean, and it's funny because and I'm it feels like, well, whatever. But about a year ago,
Mhm.
is when I really started to grasp that concept and to almost understand why I would explain stuff to people and they wouldn't understand it, and why I would get in arguments. And I didn't realize that I had a gift or understanding of feeling energy in the world in ways that other people couldn't do it. And it would
Yeah.
always be a conversation of, like, maybe I'll tell my friend that, oh, don't date that person because I feel this. It's like, you don't know them. How you think you know everything? And I would always have that you think you know everything argument with my friends and stuff. And then I slowly realized that, oh, everybody can't do this. And for my friends who get really close to me, they start to understand it, and they like, you're like a magician or whatever. I think I was in Waffle House a couple of months back, and I saw this guy, and like you spoke about going to Walmart, and I saw him, and I could feel everything he was going through, and I started saying out loud. Before I knew it, I was talking out loud to my friend. I was like, I feel like he's really, going through a tough time. He's, on his last dime, and I just started crying, and I looked at him for about 4 seconds, and my friend was like, "Are you okay?" And that was her first time experiencing, the deep empath in me. But back to what you were saying, with the acting, it's scary sometimes. Like even when I was doing one of the scenes in the 24th in the courtroom, it got to a point. I think I was on the third take of doing it, and I got caught up, and I, like you said, I absorbed it too much. And I've never done this in my life for any situation, whether it was a fight at school or playing basketball, football. But I started hyperventilating, and I scared myself so bad. I ended up running across the entire courtroom. And if you've been on set, don't go near the camera cart. I crashed into the camera cart, and I was just like trying to catch my breath. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I don't think I'm having a heart attack. And everybody just kind of rushed over there. And Trey Byers, the writer producer and the lead actor, he came over and started rubbing my back, and I didn't understand what was going on. But that's the deepest I've been when it comes to that. I've done stage plays where you do it one time, and that's cool. You one time off stage, and you're changing the setting, you're going to the next scene. But to do that emotional scene time and time again, it's not something I had experienced before. And it's I can add that to my repertoire now. But it gets scary, and that's why I tell some people I don't want to accept certain types of roles, because I literally go there, and I'm not knocking anyone or trying to be condescending or anything. But I was trying, when people first started to tell me what Meisner was, I was like, I thought we all did that. I was like, people learn that. Like I was like, that's my only thing that I have is that what you're explaining is Meisner, but it's me being an empath. And but yes, some roles I'm just scared to even take on, because I know I always go there without. It's not like a try thing. It's just I go there.
Yeah, I know that very well, and I've turned down roles that were in a horror film or a psychological thriller where I'm supposed to be playing a killer, or I'm supposed to be playing this just a really, really negative energy, because like attracts like, right? So I'm being very careful about the energy that I play, because I don't want to swim in those waters. I am. It's true, but I am afraid to go fully there, because it's going to take a lot of getting all of that crap off of you later. So yeah, it's not something. That's why I want to do more comedies. I still get asked to do a lot more dramas, because people look at me and they're like, okay, we see a nice guy, but there's something there, and there's some sort of stuff in his closet, and he could be this psycho neighbor. And those are fun roles to play, but like that I can do. But when you want me to be this complete negative kind of evil person, no, I'm not strong enough to handle that emotionally.
Right. And I've been building on it, and it's funny. I don't think I've ever had this conversation with too many people this openly, but it's something that I think that needs to happen, especially with actors. I want to start like a maybe empath community. I do, to be honest, I see a lot of people saying they're empaths, and I think they take one little thing and they think they're empath, and after I study them a while, I'm like, oh no, you're not actually an empath, because you wouldn't do certain things or whatever. But just a community to help us grow in this, because when I first learned it about myself, I want to grow in that and be able to do those roles. But it does take time. You can't just jump into it. You got to learn how to train yourself to just go so far, or how to control it after you leave the set.
Yeah, and that's why people who are going full method, that part again, not allowing myself to do that because of that same thing, right? I know who I am. If I go full method, I'm not sure how long it will take for me to get back to who I am. And I have a family, I have a real life. So to be able to snap in and snap out, that's a difficult process. And hearing some of the actors talk, his name escapes me. Oh, John Berthel, I think that's last name. The guy who played the Punisher.
Right.
Yeah, and he was saying that, look, I'm not uh, he is definitely a great actor, but his words, I'm not good enough to snap in and snap out. I kind of have to do that, and my family unfortunately endures months of me being that moody, kind of rowdy energy until I get a chance to kind of leave it behind
Mm.
during the shoot. I don't want to do that. That's not how I want to live my life.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely takes some, and when I do stuff like that, I usually I don't have the money. This sounds like I'm some A-lister or whatever. But if I go out of town, I do still try to take a friend with me, to help me snap back out of it.
Yeah.
And I've been it's something I've been working on a while, so it's getting much better with me. But I was definitely there where I couldn't do it at all, and even still, one of the days when shooting this, I think I slept for about 19 hours the next day. I was thanking God they gave me the day off the next day. I slept all the way until probably the next night. Like I probably went to sleep like 10 and probably woke up at like 8 o'clock the next day p.m. It was almost like a whole 24 hours. But I needed that rest and that rejuvenation, because you have to get out of it. That's why I'm getting used to it. But how do I say this? It kind of aggravates me when people do a scene and they come joking with me on the side. I'm like, I'm not that person. Like, leave me alone. Like, I'm trying to stay in character. Like, I don't do that. I know some people say you should be able to jump in and jump out. Well, that's not how I do mine. So you do that over there, and I'm just gonna stay here until we say rap or whatever. But yeah, I like to stay in that mode and try to be as authentic as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's really tough, and it sounded to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded to me like you were using substitution,
Yeah.
and imagining that the people in the scene are your actual friends and they're about to hang, and what that affects, and going into some places of your previous experiences in your life and trying to bring that emotion up. I found, me personally, again, everybody can use whatever they want. For me personally, I found that substitution worked sometime, and it doesn't
Okay.
work on the other takes. Like, I had to do scenes where I was crying because, in that scene for that character, his daughter committed suicide. If I use substitution with my own daughter, take one, real tears. Take two, real tears. Take three, no, I can't get there because it's not an organic experience all the time, over and over. So I found that method just didn't work for me because we're doing so many takes.
Right. And no, I'm man, I love this conversation. Like, you don't understand how much I'm loving this, because that's what, some people, because I mean, you're an actor, some people are just really just too thespian, and all they talk is thespian, whatever. And so when I say it to people, I think they're thinking I'm just trying to be thespian like, but that's why I tell people I use a mixture of method and Meisner. And I'll probably start, like, just like you said. It's funny because I tell people this. I might start with a little bit of method, but after two or three, like, I've got a it's like a mix, and I've got to mix that method and take a little pieces of it, and it's got to be what people consider Meisner, but what is for me is being an empath.
Yeah.
If I was an empath, I don't know if I could even be an actor, to be honest. I call it my cheat code.
Yeah.
No, yeah, with method, I say the same thing. I say, you can use that a couple of times, but after a while, after you've seen this person, after someone said cut and the person's came to talk to you and stuff like that, like, you just can't hold it for that long. So me being an empath is really my cheat code to acting, to be honest. Like, that's what I use the most. And I can really make myself feel these people as opposed to a friend in the past. Like, these people are actually my friends. And that's and I don't think a lot of them even know until after. I had a somewhat switch in my voice or whatever, and I would speak like that even when we were at lunch, when we were at base camp, when we were getting dressed in the morning. And I don't think people knew what my real voice was until after. And they were like, "Your voice is deep." One of them said that to me, like, "Your voice is deep." Like, I was like, "Yeah." I mean, I was trying to stay as lucky as much as possible. I wasn't acting, but I was trying to stay in his energy as much as possible. And
Yeah.
yeah.
That's it, right? It's the energy aspect of it. Because you may have the same experience, but when I'm reading a script for the first time, I have images and kind of patterns of the character that start showing up, of what is the energy like, and what is this person like, and what is. I don't immediately go to, what was their childhood, or kind of start formulating a backstory. I go to, what do they feel like,
Right.
and what are they walking like, what is it kind of putting them on in a way, and what their voice is like, for whatever reason, dialects, accents, these things come into my mind. So if it's not written on a page, this person will kind of present themselves to me, and I will already kind of recognize certain speech patterns, or this person is chewing gum all the time. I don't know why. It just that's what it feels like. It's like,
Right.
so that's what I get all the time. How about you?
No, definitely the same thing. And like I said, I'm not knocking anyone who else does it. But I'll get people saying, okay, I got to figure out his backstory and what he did at 5 years old. And if that method works for them, that's fine. I'm not saying anything against it. But for me, it's the same thing as the mannerisms. How do they talk? How do they walk?
Yeah.
How do they hold their shoulders? Almost completely different. But I did a comedy character for a while on social media, which was really just a writing exercise. And I think a lot of people thought I was a comedian. But it's called Pastor Petty. And if you see me talking now, I didn't think about what Pastor Petty's background was. I thought there's a certain way. Every time he talks, his shoulders are like this. He does certain mannerisms, and it's like that's the stuff that I focus on because I can always come back to that. I can't come back to every day. Okay, what did he do at 5 when he fell on the playground? Like I can't come back to that. I can come back to his mannerisms, his voice. How does he blink? Does he stutter? That type of stuff I can come back to constantly, and it makes the character more alive for me. And it creates, like I said, a character. I have no problem with it. I love acting, but I don't do it for the paycheck, but it is good to make a living doing it. But I love creating a real character. Like, I don't want to just come to set, like I'm talking to you now, and this is the character. I'm just African-American man, and I'm just reciting lines. I love some kind of mannerism, some kind of character to the roles that I play.
Yeah.
And that's what I get a joy out of doing.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson always talks about, for every character there has to be something. There has to be an addition, and whether it's a lisp, whether it's the way that he walks, whether it's some scar on the face, there has to be something that allows him to really kind of get into that character. So
Right.
I totally understand that. So you being an empath and us being similar in a lot of ways, I'm gonna tell you kind of the technique that I've developed for myself. I'll link a video of this because I actually explained it, but it's called I call it the butterfly effect method of acting. So what I do in order to get into the character and not to kind of use all of my experiences for the reasons that we already talked about, what I do is if the character is somebody who is a jock, or if the character is somebody who is I didn't use this example before. Let's use a character who's gay, right? I'm not gay. I'm a straight, man, but I go back in time in my personal life. I go back in time and I make a different choice. So it becomes an alternate reality. And then from that step, everything else changes. And then because I'm an empath, I am snapping into that alternate reality version of myself, and I'm a different person. I'm still me. So I know that, and I can get back in here. But I am it's like a different, Earth X version of me, that because of that little different choice I made, now I am a gay man, and here's how my life is. So I'm still grounded. There is emotion, there is imagination, there's all of these things that come into play, but it's a completely different character, but a grounded, real character.
I love, and you repeated it. I was about to go back to when you said that. I do the same thing, but I like the way you explained it so much better. But like you said, you go back and you say, I've made this decision, like you said, in your past, and this is really me. And that allows the performance to still stay grounded. Like it's not, and I've started in theater, and I think a lot of people should start in theater for one, because you don't get takes. If you don't do it right the first time, you can't do it. But coming from theater, you're so much bigger and theatrical, and it's almost because you have to reach the audience. But when you're on film, the camera's right there, and your performance needs to be grounded. So you can be kooky, psychotic. You can be bipolar, but still be grounded. And I think a lot of people miss that because they're like, no, I gotta overact it. And like, no, just say, this is me. This is a decision I made. Like you said, I love the way you said that, but this is a decision I made 10 years ago. I've been this person for 10 years, and it allows me to be that. It allows you to be and not act. And I've heard people say that before, but I don't think a lot of people get that. And I watch them, and like, it's not saying I'm the best of the best or I know more than anybody, but sometimes you see them like, you're always acting though. You need to be it. Like, I don't need to see that you're acting. I need to really believe that you're going through this time, whether it is something common as a breakup or whatever, but you need to stay grounded in it.
Yeah. Very cool. I'm not surprised that you're using something similar. It makes sense, right? I don't know if it's because we're empaths, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to get out of my head because I'm highly analytical. And anytime I think about something, anytime I try to pre-plan it's the wrong approach. I can't. That's why when I learned Meisner, to me it finally kind of freed me out because I can be in your energy and I can be in your eyes, and what you're saying and how you're saying it, I will be affected by it, and then I don't have to worry about anything else. I can just be.
Because I mean, when you start to lose confidence in your choices in acting when you start thinking about them too much. And like I said, and most people, I've been in scenes with people, have done this. I've been doing this for almost 15 years. I've only had an agent and being able to get bigger roles for about maybe 5 years. But over the time I've done this, you'll see the people just looking at you and they're waiting for this thing that they planned that they're going to do, and it's just going to wow everybody. And it's like, but it wasn't connected to me. It wasn't connected to anybody in the scene, but you just wanted to deliver this Oscar-winning or Denzel performance, but your energy was like way askew, compared to where our energy was. Yeah. And like you said, be there and literally listen to what they're saying. Stop work. Here, I'm talking a lot, but this is what I tell people. We're almost giving like we should get paid for this, but we're almost giving a workshop here. But I tell people all the time. They say I remember my lines. And I don't know if it makes sense to anybody else, but I say, don't remember your lines. You need to know your lines. So I'll read over my lines over and over so I know them. So I'm not worrying about forgetting them. Therefore, when you do something different from what I've remembered or planned in my head, it won't throw me off. And it's crazy sometimes when I learn to just know my lines. I read over and over and I hear them in my head and they're in my head. I'll literally be thinking a half a second before that I don't remember my lines. Before my brain can say it, I don't remember the lines are already coming out of my mouth because I know it so well, like it's already in me. And so, it frees you up a lot. Not, a lot of people teach that technique. Like, okay, read this line, then go back and read this line and you'll remember your lines. But I think remembering your lines is a terrible technique, if that makes sense. I don't know if people are hearing that correctly, but if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Remembering your lines, again, to me, it's, are you in your head or are you in your heart? Right. Mm-hmm. And when you're acting, you shouldn't be in your head. You should be in your heart. Right. You should be open because that's where everything kind of gets centered. You want to be grounded. You can't be up high. You have to be in your body. You have to be in your energy, in the energy of that character at that time. So you have to know your lines, and then what people are saying, you have to throw it away. What they mean by throwing it away is get out of your head and just be. So for me, it's snap in, right? I want to see what's happening with you. Lines are here. You remember them already. If you've done your work, they're going to come. And I have this all the time. What you said, it just makes me crack up because you're thinking, what the hell is oh yeah, I'm here.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's not here. It's somewhere. It's coming from wherever it is coming from. It's around us. Energetically speaking, the words are in the ether, right? Then you're just picking them as they're coming in. But yeah, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. And I think when I really realized that was when I realized my brother, who's getting into acting too, we were doing an audition with him. And it was when I realized that all of the auditions, I think everything that I've booked so far were the ones when I had no time to prep. It was like, yeah, this is a fast turnaround. It's due like 3 hours from now. And I would like have maybe 1 or 2 chances to do it. Some was like send it right back over. And those are always the ones I booked. And that's when I realized like, okay, all this preparation and making sure you remember lines because you're too much in your head and you just gotta, you know the line. So just do it and stop worrying about that one thing you thought you were going to do that's going to be different from everybody else and that's going to wow them and just really live through the character because that's what they want to see. They want to see the character. As a writer, I know they want to see the character that they wrote on the page. They do want to see you bring something to it, but just do it. Like, don't think about it too much.
Yeah, it's authenticity. It's
right.
Really, that's all it is. They don't want you to be an actor. They want you to be the person, the character.
Exactly.
I was watching, one of the shows I truly enjoy watching is Madam Secretary, and a couple seasons ago, maybe they brought them back again, but a couple seasons ago there was a scene where she's the Secretary of State. Tia Leone is playing Secretary of State, and then she brings in actual secretaries of state that came before her, so Madeleine Albright and Hillary Clinton, and his name escapes me. I'm so sorry. Colin Powell. So they brought all of them in, and they were in scene. So in a scene, she's asking them for the advice, and they're not actors. So it was really interesting to see that when they were acting, like in the acting part of the scene, you could see, okay, these are not actors. But as soon as they became themselves and were just giving advice, and of course you have your kind of lines, and I don't even know if they were, if they were riffing in a way because it was a real advice, it was just tied to a particular circumstance. But as soon as they were themselves, it was natural. And you're like, okay, I know they're not actors, this seems natural. So it was a little trick of the mind, but the reality is you have to be a real person. And that's what we want to see on screen. We don't want to see somebody making a great acting choice. We want to see a real person and be able to associate and live through that person and their experiences. So stop acting. This is when people are saying, don't act, just be. That's what they mean.
I say it all the time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's all it's about.
And it's easier said than done, of course.
Yeah.
Mark Rylance was like Bridge of Spies. Have you seen Bridge of Spies?
I haven't. I can't say I have.
Okay, dude, from an acting perspective, watch Bridge of Spies. I mean, there are so many great acting performances, but Mark Rylance in Bridge of Spies, he's playing a Russian spy. If you want to just, I walked into the theater, I didn't know anything about Mark Rylance, who's, one of the greatest actors of his generation, but I didn't know anything about him. And I saw him on screen, and I said after the first few minutes, I'm like, if he doesn't win an Oscar for this role, I don't know anything about acting. And he ends up winning an Oscar for this role, so I feel completely vindicated. But just the incredible tiny things that he did are just off the charts. You don't have to go big. He was as small as you can be, and he was brilliant. And just watch Mark Rylance, and I will never get to that level, but that's what I'm aspiring to do as much as I can.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. Definitely.
Yeah, it's a great movie anyway, and I think you'll enjoy it. Just Tom Hanks is in it. Tom did a really excellent job. On his own, just really good film, Oscar nominated film. Pretty sure. I think I'll have to double check on that. Anyway, so that's kind of from the acting perspective. All right. Well, I guess our workshop has come to an end. I know you and I could talk for the next 2 hours about this stuff, but at that point, people should start paying. So we're gonna end here. And it's a true pleasure having you on. I really enjoyed it. Best of luck with the film and your career. I'm pulling for you.
Man, I really appreciate it. I'm just praying to do some big things and establish my own legacy. I was telling someone else how people are always saying that, oh, this person is the next this person, the next Meryl Streep, the next Denzel, but I just want to be the first Lorenzo. I just want to be what I was put here to do and use the talent that I was put here to use. So I really appreciate that.
I'm pulling for you, and I'll go watch 24th. I know I'm gonna cry, but it's the movie that people should be watching. So we're gonna put a link to that movie below here as well. So and thanks to everybody for tuning in into another episode of The Love of Acting. We know you love acting as much as we do, and this is why we do this for you. Thank you.
All right.